Good evening and welcome to On the Couch with Sharita. I am Sharita, your host, and thank you for tuning in today. It is a wonderful Thursday, and today we get to talk about love and marriage. I have a special guest who has decided to stop by the couch today, and we're going to have a conversation about love, marriage, give some advice, and maybe give you guys some recommended resources that you can use and try in your marriage, especially if you're trying to keep it healthy, keep it spicy, keep it good, and keep it less toxic. But always, first, I want to thank you guys for tuning in and to also give thanks and honor to God for every opportunity that He gives me to come on here and do my thing. It is such a wonderful opportunity just to come and uplift and encourage and give some good advice or suggestions to the listeners. So I'm very grateful and thankful for that. But yeah, let's just go ahead and just jump right into it. So I have the one and only Dallas Cowboys fan, America's team, with me today, um, talking about marriage and love and healing and growing and being together. My husband, my partner, John. So please welcome him back to the couch. Welcome, John. Thank you for coming in and sitting with me and talking with me and letting these listeners hear about what you have to say about marriage and relationships and love and all that good stuff. But you and I have always kind of checked in with each other about just how we're doing and what's happening and what's going on. I don't think we're without our own issues that happen, but when it comes to having a healthy marriage, give me your take on what that looks like. And I know we've kind of talked about it and talked around it, but what does it mean when it comes to having a healthy marriage? And whether or not you want to give it from a male's perspective or just, definition in general, but what is your idea of a healthy marriage?
I think, from my perspective, a healthy marriage is always um, nonstop, continual, consistent communication. Like you said, checking in, definitely putting the other one first, and trying to match the other one's efforts as well. So it doesn't seem like this unbalanced. This person does more than this person. I know there are different dynamics because one person may have a night job versus day job, which is kind of what you and I went through a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of being there was more on your side than my side, but the times that I could help out a lot, like taking the kids to a lot of appointments,
Right.
was appreciated. I know,
Right.
and definitely showing that appreciation will make your marriage a lot healthier too.
Right. No, I agree. And you and I, before we actually came on, we were talking about 50-50, and you talk about sharing the duties and doing all these different things. And the question that came up was, or maybe the statement more or less, marriage is not exactly 50-50. And I know that's verbiage, but kind of going back to what you're saying, it's really about each person giving 100, because I hear a lot, well, marriage is 50-50. Well, like me, when I talk to my clients who come in couples, I am careful about saying marriage is 50-50 because marriage is not 50-50. The verbiage,
Right.
marriage is not 50-50. Marriage is giving 100. So let me ask you, do you think that in our marriage it was 50-50? Do you feel like it was, or 100, do you feel like it was kind of one-sided?
It depends on the time periods when you're talking about. A lot of it, yes, might have been one sided because of the, like I said, the nature of our jobs. And but if 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 the man and the woman don't try to seriously quantify it, and stress how much this person's doing versus that, because it's all getting done. There are gonna be times like at your job where you're expected to do this and this person expected to do that. You're on the same team. You're trying to make everything come together
Right.
and do the job,
Right.
satisfy the customer.
Right.
So if you're not strictly pointing the finger at who you're doing, then it's not going to be an issue because you're both working, giving 100% toward making it, quote unquote, 50-50 between
Right.
the partners. That's the way I look at it.
Just going back to what you were saying and really putting a definition to it, being in a healthy marriage, uh, and this is just really reiterating what you were saying, means living in a partnership where both people feel safe, they're valued, supported from a mental, emotionally standpoint, physical, even a spiritual standpoint. Um, I always say that a marriage doesn't have to be perfect, but intentional. Like there's mutual effort that has to be made and a shared growth when it comes to having a healthy marriage. In our experience, I think we've got into areas where the relationship, the marital relationship, has been toxic, I guess. And maybe not toxic to the point of, I don't know, we just don't talk, can't stand each other, or like it's just really just unhealthy and bad. But we've had conflicts
Mm-hmm.
in marriage. How would you say that we've been able to handle conflicts or keeping it from a point of being so toxic that it just became dangerous? Like how do you say we've managed to try to keep it somewhat civil and okay and safe, healthy, you know?
I don't know. I think, the way we handle um, ourselves within the conflict makes a big difference. I'm not one that's quick to anger, and I just happen to be a very patient individual.
Oh, so you saying this me? You saying
No,
I'm
I
quick
didn't
to
say that. But
I'm the ruthless one. I'm the one that
I
throws
mean,
the
but
plates.
everybody has their pressure points or their breaking points or whatever, and it's just all about how you handle it. Now, I will say this: um, in our early stages, we were not at a lot of you're gonna learn over however many years you put into your relationship,
Right.
put into your marriage. You're gonna learn a lot of what to not do anymore or what to incorporate now that you know better. You
Right.
do better when you know better.
Right.
And definitely including God more so in the relationship
Right.
has made the biggest difference.
Right.
So and then like you said, mutually trying to grow together instead of trying to outdo this one. But I think that dissipates that a lot of that toxicity.
Well, and with you saying that and bringing up toxicity and unhealthiness, to kind of give a little bit backstory, John and I met in college, what, 1995, 96,
Somewhere
more or
in
less.
there.
I'm just coming onto the scene at State, and he already worked at State, graduated, and all that stuff. So, us meeting and
Make sure you let them know it's Mississippi State, not Georgia.
Mississippi State, the Mississippi State Bulldogs, for all the alumni out there. Yeah, that was, so meeting, dating, and going through our periods of off and on, and all the things that come with that. And it was off and on for a long time, for a long time. So what do you think, even in that, because I kind of want to take it piece by piece and kind of bring it all together, even from the dating aspect, how do you even know when it's the person that you really want to be with? Like, how did you know that this is the person that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with?
I think when I finally came to the realization that I might lose this person and I might lose this person forever is when it hit me. This has got to be the person, because otherwise, why would we keep growing apart, coming
Right.
back together, being in whatever kind of relationship you want to call that
Right.
for so long, and always coming full circle? It just at some point it clicked, and it's like this has got to be the person for me,
Right.
because of the feelings I have developed for you, that went along with that.
Right. I mean, yeah, it definitely was a walk. Um I kind of felt like I knew early on. But again, there was just a lot of in and out and a lot of,
And I think
you know,
a lot of that had to do with us maybe realizing in our own time, in our own way, this got to be the person for me, because we keep going through this with each other.
right. And we
And
kept coming back around
coming
to
back
each other
right,
too.
right.
So I mean that made the biggest difference too. I mean, having something in common with each other, and kind of going back to the definition of marriage just for a second. Where I don't know, maybe we felt safe with each other. There was, you know, I could tell you something and I knew it wouldn't go any further and vice versa, but there was just something about us and how we related to each other. And I think that's the thing when it comes to having a healthy marriage is, communicating and how you communicate with each other, how you make each other feel, and um, you know, being able to meet the needs and the wants of the other person. Now, going back to the story of the dating, so there's the in and out period, and I think we dated for at least 8 years before we actually got married, and we come to this point. Now, mind you, at this time, you're talking over, just to kind of make a long story short, about 18 years of just being together, period. From meeting up until marriage. Now, there's 2 kids, and that we have, but that's that span of just learning each other and learning how to communicate, but we were never without, you know, being angry or being upset and coming back to each other. But we weren't without our conflict. What do you think has been the number one thing in making the marriage what it is?
What it is now.
What it is now.
Like I said, well, we did go to counseling, so I haven't been. I definitely recommend that. No marriage is going to be perfect. The marriage is not designed to
Right.
be perfect.
Right.
You're supposed to have conflict in a sense, just to resolve situations. You're going to have it because you're two
Right.
different people.
Right.
But definitely, like I said, bringing God into the situation more so, and having gone through therapy really helped us to get to where we are now.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Marriage counseling has really allowed us to tap into some spaces and places. Um, which is kind of funny because, in talking with our therapist, John, uh, one of the things that, you know, he mentioned, checking in, giving the 8 hugs a day, allowing for space even. And, you know, we try to capitalize off of that by doing precisely those things. Check-ins are very important. It just allows for you, the person, the couple, to really hone in on wants and needs and desires. Now, kind of going back to that, do you feel like in your marriage that your needs have been met, your needs, your wants, your desires, like you're getting the thing that you need to get out of your marriage?
Now,
Yes.
yeah, of course, we went through a process of ups and downs, and like I said, nothing being perfect, but definitely getting more information was very helpful. on how to show up for your partner, and asking what they are not getting so that you
Right.
can try to provide. I always thought I was more of a romantic than most guys, and so it was like, and
Talk about your romantic
yeah,
side. What was
I mean, I would give you flowers for no reason at all, just
no,
what I
but
was thinking
how?
about.
Like, okay, so let's how? What does that look like? What? Because your
I'm in the store, I see
no,
flowers,
no,
I
no,
think of you, and I
no,
bring flowers
no,
home.
no. Your idea of there's yes, there's that, but when you talk about romantic, and I'm glad you said that because it's the little things. Kind of think about the little things. Remember the cat in the box.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
go back to the cat
So
in the
one
box.
Valentine's Day, I know, and I've always been this guy that I just give you flowers. I don't wait till Valentine's Day to give you flowers. I don't wait till your birthday to give you flowers. If I just see them somewhere, I just pick them up, bring them home, and don't say anything to you. Just it could be a Wednesday, daytime. It doesn't matter. If they're growing in the yard somewhere or along the road, and I see some, I might stop and pick some. But this particular Valentine's Day, I was actually,
We had an argument, I think, like the day before, something like that, or
and
something.
I actually was headed to the store to get you flowers, and in the parking lot was this humane society that were giving away animals. And I remember you talking about your cat back home that you really had a thing for, and when I think you had at Corinth.
Yeah, that was Harmony. No,
Uh-huh.
no, 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 no. That was Pepper Jack that I
So
had in Corinth.
they were, and I know you love the cat so much. I don't think you had a cat at the time, but the cat was so cute that I said, you know what, I'll get this for her for Valentine's Day. And you would have thought I had given you the most expensive gold necklace. so so once I got the reaction, I went back and told my friends and told them they couldn't top that.
So you left because we were in the apartment at the time. You left. I was still heated from the day before. You left, came back with, I'm still not talking and saying anything, but you come back with this box. And I just happen to look, I get the box, I open the box, I look inside the box, and I just melted. It's just like everything that ever happened the day before just went away. That was the best Valentine's gift ever because I'm a cat person. And because you were intentional and paid attention and like you say, being present, that made all the difference in the world. And when you talk about showing up and being present and knowing and being intentional, like the birthday that I had, it wasn't. I don't think it wasn't the well. There's the 50th, but there was one I think before then when we went to Papa Do's, and that was a really nice birthday because I felt like, okay, this person is being really intentional. My 50th, like I would have never expected you to pull out all the stops that you did, but that was being intentional. And that's part of that listening and showing up. And, you know, when your partner communicates, here are my needs and my wants and my desires and speaking my language, that's the thing that makes the marriage healthy. It's not about being perfect, but like you said, it's about showing up. But you telling a story about the cat and telling everybody about how you um what you did, what was their reaction and their response? Because most people are like, you gave a girl a cat.
Yeah,
like,
that's the exact reaction I got. It just kind of laughed at me. But in my mind, I was boyfriend of the year, so man of the year, whatever. But as far as I was concerned, I didn't need anybody else's, approval. But it's just try. You can give flowers on Valentine's Day every Valentine's Day, but I promise you, it's like you said, more thoughtful if you are intentional about what you give, and it's not necessarily a tangible thing as
Right.
it is. It's like you're saying, just being there, showing up, maybe
Right.
cooking dinner. I cook dinner, from time to time. So you don't have to cook dinner
Right.
on, then that's nearly. I don't have to wait for a certain day to
Right.
do that.
Right. No, and you're absolutely right. Just the if you're thinking about someone, I mean, if something comes up and that thing, whatever reminds you of that person, you do that. But like you say, cooking or doing the laundry, anything to take any, item off my plate, helps out a whole lot because that's one less thing that I, have to do. But in talking about that, some of the key elements or key traits of a healthy marriage: trust and honesty, communication, respect and equality. There's emotional support, shared goals and values. I think we, share some of those things when it comes to parenting and finances and lifestyle. But some of those things can be challenges as well. Intimacy, levels of intimacy, and just really, you know, learning how to resolve conflict, taking care of each other. Do you think that when it comes to solving problems in our marriage that we've been able to, well, I mean, obviously we've been able to do that. We try not to go to bed angry, or we try to come back around to it if we put a pin in it or whatever that
Mm-hmm.
looks like. um but when it comes to conflict resolution, I don't know if my question is, have we been able to do that? Obviously, we have, but how do you think we've been handling it thus far?
Well, again, obviously we had to come a long way, and we had to learn some things to get to this point. So yeah, a lot of conflicts didn't get resolved.
Right.
Like I said, there's no perfect,
Right.
relationship, but the effort you put in definitely makes a difference. So your conflicts are not as drawn out or as large if you're constantly trying to um, resolve them in a fair way. You can
Mm.
agree to disagree,
Mm-hmm.
but at least try to resolve it in a fair way.
Does that go with the saying happy life, happy wife?
I've heard that. I've heard that from several different
If you
directions.
make me happy, then you'll be happy. You'll
Yeah,
live
but
longer.
but that's not fair.
You'll live longer if
That
I'm
eh,
happy.
well, that you know, that may be true, but that's not fair. If the person thinks that, then they're not being fair to themselves, let alone being fair to their spouse. But yeah, you hear that all the time.
I saw a TikTok, and I think I might have sent it to you, where it says, I used to give my husband butterflies, now I give him high blood pressure,
Hmm.
or something to that effect. Do I give you high blood pressure?
You
Do I make it hard? I try not to. But no, I think you're right, and I think it unevens. If I'm saying it right, and if I'm not, correct me. I think it unevens the playing field, I guess, to that extent. If it does make it unfair to you if it's always one sided, because if I'm happy, you're happy, and if you're happy, I'm happy. I mean, it's kind of like my happiness comes from being able to satisfy your need, or
know.
whatever the desire or the one is, and vice versa. It can't always be making this person happy and then you're not getting anything out of it. So no, I definitely agree. I mean, it's been a journey. And you talk about, from a spiritual aspect, having a relationship with God. There are people who have been married for eons, 60, 70 years. I think one of your aunts, I forget which one it was, we went to an anniversary of hers. I guess it was like her 60th wedding
somewhere, yeah.
anniversary or whatever. You know, I envy those couples who have that marriage longevity,
Hmm.
you know. Um, but you kind of have to wonder, about the fussing and the fighting and the near divorcing and getting put out, and um I get couples who come in and they just, the dialogue is so off and they're yelling at each other in the session, but I can tell that this is just how they communicate at home. It doesn't necessarily mean that they don't love each other. It's just they've been together for so long. This has been just the nature of how they communicate. What do you think about those marriages that last that long, especially when you talk about it from the spiritual sense? I mean, it takes having a foundation laid and rooted in God, being that Proverbs woman and that Corinthians man, in order to make sure that your marriage survives.
I don't know. Like I mean, it's a cliche and to say that every marriage is different. We all know that. That particular aunt you were talking about, her marriage being so long, um, they they stayed together because they wanted to stay together for
Mm-hmm.
one thing. Whether they do, I think a lot had to do with spirituality. Maybe I'm not sure how my uncle was versus my aunt, that particular aunt. But there's another aunt of mine whose husband doted on her for that amount of
Mm-hmm.
years, like 60, 70 years. I
Right.
don't remember. He just passed a year or two ago. And he did everything for her from the time they got married to the time he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he would sit with her in the bathroom when she was taking a bath and help her get up and down, drive her everywhere, do everything for her. She might do the cooking, but he did everything else that he could for her.
Right.
And so there was a definite difference when he passed, and now my aunt doesn't know or didn't know at the time, obviously, what to do because he did so much for
Right.
her. But I know they were very spiritual,
Right.
couple.
Right. Right. No, I get that. There was a book that you and I were working out of, and that I work out of with my clients, or I recommend to my clients. It's called the um, Couple's Guide to a Growing Marriage. That's by Gary Chapman, who also did the 5 love languages. And Gary Chapman also has love languages for children's and teens. If you guys want to check that out on Amazon, relatively inexpensive books. But the Couple's Guide to a Growing Marriage is deeply rooted in scripture. It's how are you having a conversation with your partner? Are you talking to your partner the way that you talk to God? Are you having a relationship with your partner the way that you have a relationship with God? And I think that's very important, because coming into a marriage, you have to be able to have that foundation no matter what. Otherwise, it stands to not um stay together. I mean, you lose ground on how to communicate. When challenges and stressors come up, you get lost in how to deal with them. And I think for us, it's always, well, I think we more so now retreat to prayer and the word, and may seek that spiritual counsel, if it's, talking to the pastor or whatever that looks like, to make the marriage what it is. Because there are breakdowns, there are challenges, there are stressors. What do you say would be, or has been, the biggest, or maybe one of the challenges for us? There's been financial, there's been, you talked about time, working the late night hours, the
That
not
was
the not being around. What would you say? I mean, because we've experienced, but what do you think would be one of the challenges, at least, that we've experienced? You know.
well, in regards to our dynamic, I know it had a lot to do with time. finding time to do this, finding time to do that, finding time to do it around the kids' schedule, trying to find the time to do it around my and your schedule. I will say this: I definitely would admonish any new couples, if they put God first in their early stages, they don't have to waste as much time as we did.
Right.
They could start off
right
where we should have started off,
right
so that they could get to where, quote unquote, we're
right
now.
right
But along that lines, just making time. You can make time for what you want to make time for.
right
It might be challenging, but it's not impossible. Definitely communication. They say it all the time. Communication is key, and it really is. Until you have exhausted each and every opportunity or avenue,
right
to figure out a way to communicate something with someone else, and you cannot give up. You can't just, or say that person just doesn't understand or doesn't accept, your side or support your side.
right
When both of you are trying to convey
right
two different sides.
I want to go back to what you said, because that hit a little bit, talking about time. You What did you say? You can make time for anything that you want to make time for.
It just may be challenging, but it's not impossible.
Right. So what would you say to the men who are not making the time, or maybe don't want to make the time, or it's challenging to make the time? Like, what would you say to those men, whether they're dating or in their marriage, where, say, it's a thing where maybe you're working, late night hours, or maybe you're not working late night hours, but you're just not showing up the way that you're supposed to show up? What would you say? What sort of advice would you give someone?
I think not the little things do mean a lot more than you think they do, because if I could go back to like past dating situations, and realizing what was wrong there, and what maybe I did or did not do, just from my perspective, and then hearing their perspective on things, or seeing their perspective on things. And I think a person will definitely be appreciative of your effort if they see your effort. Now, you can, as us guys, you can do a quick evaluation of what you have time to do. What you commit time to do, or for things that you have, that you want to do, that you have to do, you need to do, and then evaluate which one is so important that you couldn't take a little time from that to just call and say hi, or see if somebody needs something. You're on the way to the store anyway. You need me to pick up something. You need me to bring something back. I'm going to McDonald's. You need me to bring something back. Whatever that you think you don't have time for, you may commit more time to it than maybe is necessary. Go and hang out with your boys. Okay, you go every Wednesday. That's y'all's day. Pick one day you don't go. You still got how many more Wednesdays in a year to go? So just give up one.
Right.
Or let's say, okay, well, you go out with your boys Wednesday, you go see your boys Wednesday, or you go to the game on Sunday. Just pick one and trim a little bit off of it, and you might see a big difference in how that other person responds.
Right.
Because if they see a certain pattern and you never change from that pattern, they don't think it's important enough to you to take a little time to give to them.
I get that, and that kind of moves me into this space a little bit when it comes to integrity as a man, and marital integrity. I mean, if you lack integrity as a person, then you lack marital integrity. So that kind of goes into the being loyal, being honest, having accountability, the consistency, the showing up, all those things. Fidelity. because that's a big thing too. Um, and because I can't say that all marriages have experienced infidelity. I know the ones that I've encountered, as a therapist, you know, it's infidelity seems to come up probably 99% of the time, But how do you practice fidelity? What does that even look like? What does that even look like to have marital integrity, especially coming from a male's perspective?
Well, I think if you're being honest with yourself, then you know not to put yourself in situations that may be a source of weakness for you. If you think you can't handle yourself at the club, don't go to the club.
Right.
Hold yourself accountable.
Right.
But this person is flirting with you. Don't entertain it.
Right.
Now, yeah, we're all human. Somebody compliments you that you don't have no reason to compliment you. Yeah, it makes you feel good. But also, I bet if you talk to your spouse, then you can probably get her to understand where you're coming from, and she'll see a different perspective. Or maybe I'm not showing him how much I appreciate him, how much I still think how attractive he is.
Right.
And that goes both ways.
Right. So
a lot of communication goes in.
Right. No, and I definitely agree. Because in keeping the lines of communication open, and you really hit on something, even within this dialogue about marital integrity, when you're able to sit with each other and bring things to the table and have a conversation about it, it makes a big world of difference, because we know that infidelity, some of it comes from if not all, the lack of communication. Like, if you just talk to me about what's going on, but then that kind of goes back to trust building. Can I trust to have a conversation with this person and not being made to feel like I'm less than, or I'm delusional, or I'm crazy? Can I trust to have a conversation with this person and this person not dismiss me or discount what I'm saying? Or it's the listening, and it's getting it, and it's understanding, validating. So when you can have those elements, yes, that makes the difference in between, say, getting a compliment and running off into the sunset with the other person, than getting the compliment and in your mind going, okay, I've got to set a boundary between me and whatever this temptation is, so that I don't, cross the line. And do anything that I shouldn't be doing. So no, I mean, I think you're absolutely right when it comes to that. I mean, that's such a big thing when it comes to having a good foundation in your marriage. It's kind of like location, communication. I mean, that's the key element, but it's also in how we communicate, with each other as well.
And I've seen this thing on more than one occasion on TikTok, where the guy's talking about if this guy opens up to you and shares himself with you and his feelings and his concerns, his desires, and you shoot him down or discount it or discredit or don't give a healthy weight to it, then you cannot turn around and use that against him just to win the argument. He will never open up to you again.
Right.
If you do that, or you continue to do that. So it takes something for a guy to really open up. He has to feel comfortable with you, that you're not going to misuse his information or his heart, as they say, when he does open up.
Right. No, I agree. Because, and let me just say it, men have some, I guess, the ego, the fragile egos, and I don't want to say like in a bad way, but there are some men who come from places where it's just some broken places, where they've come from families of divorce or whatever that looks like, we know that men are taught differently from girls. Men are taught to not show emotion, and they can go on for years and not do that. But when they finally do, because they get to a place where, okay, I think I can open up and be vulnerable, and that happens, your husband, your boyfriend, your partner comes to you and they, kind of pour out to you, but then you dismiss them. That just destroys, um, it destroys them as a person, their manhood, these things they hold dear. And so we as women, um, we have to be sensitive to that, and we have to have some level of understanding. But again, this is trust building, because you as a man, you're trusting me with your feelings and emotions, again, your needs and your wants. um and that's not easy for a lot of people to let down that wall. Even in some marriages today, we have men, and probably women too, who still have that wall, because it's trust. I don't trust to put myself in this situation, because I don't know what, if I'm going to be dismissed or pushed to the side, or whatever that is. So I say, when it comes to your marriage, communicate, build trust, but be open and receptive, and allow yourself to be just as vulnerable, inside of your marriage. But I think that comes from both sides. So again, when it comes to fidelity, being transparent, accountability, respect, um, honesty, all these things that make up these core elements of having some marital integrity. One of the things I kind of want to touch on a little bit, is levels of intimacy, from physical touch to just being close. um I guess it's safe to say that our level of intimacy is pretty healthy for the most part. I think the closeness, the touching, and I guess we kind of have to go back and look at what our love language is. you know um I don't know. I don't
I
know. I don't
I
even
think
know
our
if I
love language
know.
is just be in the
Just
vicinity.
yes, I would say precisely that, because John can say I'm going to somebody's house, one of my boys, and it's not even 30 minutes later. It's like, what are you doing? When are you coming back? It becomes that. I think we for the most part, we get along pretty good. I mean, I think we've tried all the spaces and places, but I think we have a pretty good handle on the level of intimacy when it comes to each other, because we don't mind being around each other. We don't mind being up under each other. I get a slap on the butt every now and then. John just rolled his eyes at me. Don't you roll your eyes at me. Don't do it. I will hold the remote when you watch the football game. Don't you roll your eyes at me. Because there are moments where, if you're in the basement, what street do you want to come down to the basement? Do you want to watch? I'm here, but I'll get on the couch and probably go to sleep. But it's just the fact that we're around each other, so we make it work, we make it happen, and we're okay. We're okay with that. So having good, healthy physical uh, intimacy, just being around each other, that closeness, keeping it spicy, um, is always good. How do we keep it spicy? Can we talk about how we keep it spicy? How do we keep it spicy?
Um, well, for me, I'm not bored that easily. I'm not a boring individual. Not to say that you are, but
Well,
definitely,
thanks for
definitely.
clearing that up. I
But
appreciate that.
it's just number one, talking to each other, just seeing, checking in that respect.
Yeah.
Because with guys in my age bracket, you get older, so you get older,
Right.
your body changes,
Right.
and so your level or your idea of intimacy will change also.
Right.
So it's not always physical, as we all know.
Right.
But there are levels of, and there's aspects of intimacy maybe you never thought about before.
Right.
Like you said, not everybody just a light touch here. You
Right.
be in a grocery store and just kind of walk by your partner and just smile at them.
Right. Keep it
You know?
spontaneous.
Yeah.
Keep it fun. Most definitely. It's, I don't know. I think for me, it's making sure that I take care of my partner. But when you talk about being in the grocery store and giving a wink or giving a smile or, you know, whatever, again, just keeping it fresh. Also, too, kind of going back to what you were saying about the different levels of intimacy, because it's not all about sexual.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's so many levels of intimacy and what that looks like. You know, you learn how to be together in many different ways. If it's cooking together, if it's, I don't know, going to the park together, you know, whatever that is. But you know, keeping it spontaneous and keeping it spicy in the bedroom, John. John doesn't like that topic. He's a very shy man. But no, I mean, it's, you know, that's all part of that. Because there are just, you know, some moments, transparency wise, where we're just kind of like both tired, and you know, we may not feel like being physically intimate, so we're just one with each other. And that's, you know, that's okay. But yeah, I mean, you know, out of all things, um keep it respectful, you know, in your marriage. You know, figure out what your role is as a husband, as a wife. What does that look like? You know, what do I need from my partner? You know, what can I do to help my partner? How can I support my partner? How can we support each other? You know, how can we maintain a good, healthy level of communication in our marriage? How can we keep our marriage healthy? How can we keep our sexual intimacy spicy? How can we just keep the general level of intimacy, you know, going and spicy? You know, what does that look like? um you know, for us, again, communication is a big thing. But some things that you can do to help improve your marriage, or again, to kind of keep it, um you know, in the street. Practice active listening, you know. Using some positive I statements, like, for example, I feel sad or overwhelmed when you do whatever this certain thing is. You know, that helps to keep it from being accusatory. But you also to get to stay in control of your own feelings and emotions. Do some check-ins, because I think even in our marriage counseling, we were told to check in with each other. Giving 8 hugs a day, you know, I still recommend that, you know, to my clients. Sometimes it's just the standing there and gazing at each other for a few seconds, you know, at a time. It communicates energy. You don't even have to say anything, but it's the nonverbal, you know, the gazing. They say the eyes is the windows to the soul. I mean, it gives you a chance and an opportunity to take in and to feel what your partner's feeling. Staying calm during, you know, your conflict. If the temperature is getting too high, find ways to bring it back down. If it's taking a break, a time out, you know, just saying, hey, can we put a pin in this and come back later to it and clarify, you know. And I think that's one of the things that kind of came up for us recently, being able to clarify what you mean when you say what you say. Ask the questions. If you don't know, your partner has an obligation and a responsibility when a question is asked to clarify what that is. You know, being able to communicate with some clarity and being concise. I definitely want to recommend some books. The Couple's Guide to a Growing Marriage and The Five Love Languages. Again, those are 2 books by Gary Chapman. They're very, very good books. And of course, if you're a married couple with children, with teenagers. He also has the 5 love languages for adolescents and teenagers, if you want to check that out. There's the Christian dating, the Q&A guide, that's very rich in Bible based, very scripture based. So you may want to check that out, especially if you're new in this dating thing. So I would kind of recommend those books. If you're in an area where you're getting divorced, I would recommend the book for Giving What You Can't Forget, which is a really good book um, when it comes to healing and adjusting to life after divorce. But yeah, for for couples who are just trying to make it work, I would recommend maybe doing some of these things or checking out some of these books again to kind of keep your marriage in the road. But again, it all comes down to just learning how to communicate with each other. So, as always, I would like to give you guys some homework and something for you to chew on. Try writing love letters, to each other. This is a good way to connect with your partner, to show your love for each other. Any apologies that you feel like you want to make that you may not be able to verbally say, you can say it in your letter. Check in with each other, do the 8 hugs a day, and really just learning how to listen and show up and be present. I mean, that goes a long way. um you know Marriage is not perfect. um a great marriage is not perfect, but when couples learn to come together, you learn how to enjoy your differences, with each other. So, you know, think about that. It's all about building this marital foundation on the foundation and the principles of God and what He's set forth. So, again, be one with each other and learn how to love each other. Life definitely is too short, and if you found your forever person, let's definitely make it last. But I would like to thank John for coming by and stopping by the couch, and um coming in and partaking in some discussion on marital life, and appreciate him doing it. John, do you have any last words for your listeners out there who are these America's team people? You know, do you have any last
Keep your head
words?
up. Keep your head up.
Any
I would
last
like to say,
words?
but I would like to say, marriage it does require work,
It
and you
does.
got to be willing to work it out.
Hmm. Yeah, it does. You have to be, like you say. You can make time for what you want to make time for. Make time for your partner, for yourself, um, because this is your world, and especially if you have kids, you know, whether it's boy or girls, all boys or girls or whatever, they model after you. So what they see, what they know, what they experience, this is how they're going to formulate their own relationships with people. So if it's unhealthy in the marriage, they're going to have unhealthy relationships with people, but not just with people, with themselves. So it's very important that you strive in as much as you can to be the man that you need to be the man that you need to be for God, for yourself, for your children, for your spouse. And women the same. We have to be stand-up women. We have to model what it means to be a woman, what it means to be a mother, what it means to be a nurturer, um, someone who loves, someone who's slow to anger but is quick to love. We have to be able to model that. Think about your unit, think about your family, especially us in the Black community. There's just so much going on, and we need to learn how to be up under this umbrella of loving and sharing and needing of one another. So, let's just do the damn thing, and keep it going, keep it spicy, keep it together. and just, and love and enjoy each other. Well, listen, I really do appreciate you guys taking this time to stop by on a Thursday night. I pray that the rest of your evening goes well, that you have a wonderful weekend. I pray that you've had a good start of your week this week, and that you get to end your week on a good high note. But as always, take care of yourself and each other. And I will see you, Lord's will, back here next Thursday at 7 o'clock on Hindsight Media Radio 103.5 FM, where there is always something good to talk about. See you soon.